I work with Landmark Harcourts out of Merredin, Western Australia. Merredin is east of Perth and mostly a sheep and wheat farming area, with farm sales being the main activity I'm involved in. I started with Landmark Harcourts 5 years ago in Merredin, and prior to that, 10 years ago, I started with Landmark Finance, so I've been with the company close to 10 years. I sell both rural and residential properties, but focus on the rural sales, with farms ranging in size from 100 hectares to 10,000 hectares, being the larger scale, and prices varying between $100,000 to up to $10 million, so quite a big variation. Most farms, wheat and sheep farming properties, and a combination of sales of entire farms and also parcels. In terms of residential, that's mostly in the Merredin town, with sales varying from $100,000 to $500,000. In terms of corporate activity, there's an increasing amount in the area, with some corporate sales and some corporate buyers. That's probably increased a lot over the last 5 years, with the number of sales this year going through. The majority of our properties that are listed for sale are sold by private treaty with an asking price. Auction is probably less common in this area than some others. In terms of the right method of sale, it's something that's always discussed early on with the sellers to work out what their preferences are and make recommendations to them on what is the best option for that particular property. And that of course depends on the likely level of interest, the market conditions and the property itself. I think in Western Australia auction is less common than in some other states. That's probably possibly a bit of a cultural and historic thing. Auctions can work really well here for the right property, and we will obviously facilitate them, but they're less common than other options. Tender is something that for the last few years we've found very successful, offering properties in September, October to settle early in the following year. We've delivered some great results for sellers with some high prices and offering the farms in smaller parcels, which have been picked up by neighbouring farmers. In terms of a typical week for myself, it would involve a number of property inspections, which can be up to 2 hours away from where I'm based. Also trying to catch up with potential sellers to see if there's a possibility of listing their property for sale. Also appraisals is one where I'd hope to have several off a week. So in terms of being out in the area, it involves a lot of driving, with about 70,000 kilometres a year of business travel to see the right people and be in the right areas. It's really valuable selling real estate under the Landmark banner, working with other Landmark employees and agents. Obviously there's a great network there, and with the communication between ourselves, we can help with referrals and leads to other activities, which is obviously helps everyone a huge amount. Loyalty from clients is probably something that we can't take for granted like we used to, and we need to really be providing the best value proposition we can to keep them as valuable clients. In terms of value proposition, the real estate commissions can often be fairly substantial, and to justify the service we provide, it has to be a top level service. We have to be professional in what we do, and need to be able to market a property in a way that will achieve the highest possible price. The real estate market is obviously very competitive, with plenty of other established agents that we compete with all the time, and also private sales can be an area where farmers can decide to sell to a neighbour themselves and avoid using a real estate agent or representative. So it's really important that we are very proactive and we are getting in front of the people who are potential sellers and able to tell them the services we provide and how the advantages of using Landmark Harcourts to market their property and achieve a better price and a better outcome for everybody. In terms of marketing, there's obviously the traditional ways and advertising in rural papers, which is something I still consider to be important to get properties the right amount of exposure. Obviously internet advertising is incredibly important, and having good quality photos to make properties appealing is incredibly important and can reach a huge area. Social media is an area where it's becoming harder to ignore, and having a presence and some sort of presence is very important, and being smart about the content that you're putting out there and is really important. To ensure there's loyalty from both your sellers and buyers and potential buyers, it's really important that you follow up quickly on any inquiries or phone calls, emails as well. That's a common complaint I hear from people when they talk about other real estate agents, that they take a long time to get back and sometimes don't get back in touch. And recording the names and details of all the potential buyers and sellers that are making contact with you, so that you can follow them up in the future if circumstances change and there's potential or a new property that would suit them really well. And buyers really appreciate that, and then you become their first point of call when they look again. So small things like that, and doing a lot of the small things and obvious things is what helps to have a successful business and that loyal following.